Good morning, Senate Agriculture in Action, Friday, March 14th. It's been a good week. We worked, the committee's worked very, very hard, which I'm very thankful for. And all the rest of you are as well. We are working on our miscellaneous bill this morning. We've worked on some language as far as incorporating S100 into our miscellaneous bill that should satisfy the EPA's concerns of how the permits for clean water are issued in the state of Vermont. And we're going to spend some moments with our Deputy Chief Counsel, who's made some changes, and for a possible vote out of committee. And after that, we might have an early day. Reward worth a hard week. Mr. O'Grady, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Michael Grady with the State Council. You should have a document in front of you that says DR request 25-0904 draft 232, March 13th, 25D and at 4:30 p.m. timestamp. You may recall the previous draft had incorporated S100 into your miscellaneous agricultural subjects committee bill. And then the agency came in and asked for two changes to dates. And so the language for incorporation of S100 begins on page 18, but the changes don't occur until page 29. And that is section 9, line 14. There is a requirement that the secretary conduct a community stakeholder group on agricultural water quality. As the bill was introduced, the secretary is directed to engage those stakeholders, start that group by September 1, 2025. And then on page 30, at the bottom of the page, or actually page, yes, on about page 30, line 18, submit to you a report by February 15, 2026. That had previously been January 15, 2026. So this gives the agency more time to initiate the stakeholder group and correspondingly gives them more time to submit the results of that report. That is the only change since you've reviewed the committee bill with S100 incorporated into it.
I made a statement before, and I think it came from Michael O'Grady, and I certainly know it came from Michael Chernick as well, about reviewing a bill, but we just reviewed it yesterday. So is there any question about this bill? Does anybody want to review it from start to finish? Are there any questions about this bill that anybody, yep?
Thank you, Chair. I am still hung up on this, that the Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Natural Resources in coordination with the Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Market shall engage in agriculture stakeholders as part of the rulemaking process to gather input for proposed concentrated for the CAFO. Why do you need a pre-rule when there's already rules for CAFO? And she goes, well, we want the farmer's input. It's like, I just don't understand how they can't take away any of the rules. And it's CAFO has their rules, and those are the rules we have to follow up. So I don't understand why they want to have, when they come onto the farm, they're going to say, here are the CAFO rules, and having a pre-meeting makes it makes no sense to me to have.
So this is, let's just kind of assess the landscape right now.
Mm-hmm.
And first, there are federal EPA and CAFO rules that states have to comply with at a minimum. But those rules apply to every type of livestock farming. And they are very specific to every type of livestock farming. You don't need to adopt all of them for Vermont because, for example, you don't have any medium or large swine farms in this state. So you don't need that component of the federal EPA programs, and why include it in state law when it's really inapplicable. So A&R has to do a review of what they want to bring in as incorporated as state law from those federal rules. In addition, rulemaking, the fastest you can do rulemaking, if you do everything exactly according to the timeline, is 5.5. It's usually more like 8 to 10 months. If you have a controversial, it can go longer than that, especially when it gets to LCAR and people are not happy with the rule once it gets to LCAR. LCAR, you know what LCAR is?
Yeah, please.
It's the Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules. So before a rule can be adopted, it has to be reviewed by the legislature so the legislature can determine whether it's consistent with statutory authority, consistent with legislative intent, whether it's arbitrary and capricious, whether it was adopted according to an appropriate public participation process, and whether it's drafted in a way that's effectively readable. If LCAR objects on any of those bases, the rule can still go forward, but the burden of proof in litigation shifts from the plaintiff showing that there's something wrong with the rule to the agency to show that there is defensible. You really don't want to bring a rule like this to LCAR with a lot of controversy. And one of the things that agencies do in order to get cooperative agreement with stakeholders, go to pre-rulemaking. And they hold stakeholder groups, they do drafts, they give those drafts to the stakeholder groups, they work through issues before you get into rulemaking. And it's a pretty normal process.
So you're saying it's a good thing, basically.
I think it's like, you know,
Because what you said yesterday kind of made me laugh and said, you know, and unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to sit there and try to hammer this out.
right. And I say unfortunately, because literally the RAPs they took like 2.5 years. And it's because there were a lot of controversial issues that the legislature had directed to be addressed. Farmers had to provide their input and feel comfortable with what was being required. They never really got comfortable with some things, and they're never going to get comfortable with some of the things that are going to be in this rule.
April period. Yeah, so.
But that's what pre-rulemaking is about.
Okay.
And one of the things that this is really about is that they engage all the stakeholders, because sometimes agencies, and I'm not focusing on other agencies, they just work with the people that they know, right? In the pre-rulemaking, and this is trying to expand that a little bit.
And are the stakeholders just the farmers that are, you know, any farm that could be, or do we have, it's gonna be a landowner that lets the farmer have a bunk with.
So on page 30, it's the agricultural community. So it's whomever is in that, but you do give some specificity, top of the page 1 through 3. It's livestock farmers, farm and watershed groups, agricultural consultants. So the agricultural community, and including means including but not limited to. So if the agency wants to engage more than that list, they obviously have the authority to do so.
I have to take the Secretary of A&R's word in when she says, and she said yesterday, well, this really is meant for the agricultural world. And that's not exactly how she said it, but
It is, but for example, when you say a farm group or a watershed group, the watershed group in Franklin County is also a farm group.
Right.
Right? There's farmers on that group. There's veterinarians on that group. There are municipal people on that group, but it's a watershed group, but it's also a farming group.
My worry is a special interest group being able to come in and wield what already is complex for farmers to make it even more complex or even, uh, stop them from being able to do the work. That's my concern. CAPO is meant to say, okay, here's a violation, but then you have a special interest group that says this isn't enough. We want.
But you're gonna have that.
Anyway,
You're gonna have it through this whole.
but if it's just a CAFO program that they have to follow without having them add their, their luggage to it as well, there's pretty much no way of protecting the farmer to say, hey, it's the farmer. Well, with all these three, it doesn't look like there's any way to
Well,
do that.
there are things that are in current Vermont law that are incorporated into the water quality permits that aren't in CAFO permit. Like, how do you compost your mortality? Like, and where do you do that? That's not in CAFO. And so that will be incorporated into the model. Or they're just going to cross-reference CRIPs for purposes of that. So as I explained previously, I don't think just cross-referencing the federal CAFO rules is, it could be done, and you could parse what was applicable to Vermont. But there are so many things in those rules that just aren't applicable to Vermont. Why bring in the swine rules when there aren't medium and large swine farms? Why bring in the livestock of the stockyard portion when there really aren't stockyards?
Correct.
And
And I can promise you this, as we had pointed out yesterday, and I think we kind of agreed to it. Not to say that, not to say that's binding or in any way, shape or form, but just in conversation. This isn't the last stop once we vote this out. I think this is the starting point. And if we don't think that this bill is going to change, we're going to be very naive. So,
right, I'm going through S100 with the committee down the hall in like an hour.
right. So it's going to change.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you explaining it further for me so that when I get asked, I can say, this is what council believes was the best.
I will just say that it's going to be a very iterative process. And longer than you would probably want, and with more people involved than you would probably want, with more influence than you would probably want.
All right. Well, you answered my question. I'm happy with the way it sits.
What else? Are we ready for a vote?
Sure. Thank you for filling that out, Linda. All right, this is the vote for an act related to the miscellaneous farm, miscellaneous agricultural subjects. Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan, yes. Senator Majors.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Engel.
Yes.
Vote is 5 yes, 0 no's, no absence. It has passed.
And who's recording?
Me. Don't be so excited.
Wow.
You're good.
Wow.
Thank you.
Who's meeting?
Well, like you're gonna take it to the woodshed on that one.
The changes in the.
Is this a clean copy?
Yes.
Okay.
And does he take it to the draft meeting?
No, this is it's a committee bill. So what you can do, it has to come from Senator Ingalls. Senator Ingalls has to email the copy that,
Clean copy.
a clean copy to drafting operations
I'm just, you know,
and say the committee has approved be attached as a committee bill.
Do drafting operations?
Yeah, just LC drafting operations. If you put that into the address bar, it'll pop up. LC drafting pop up.
Yeah, my guess is we're not gonna, I mean, it'll go on notice for Tuesday.
It does, no, it's going to approach.
Oh, Yep.
It's going to finance and it'll probably go to approach too.
And I think it's gonna take some other visits as well.
all right.
So, just to be fair,
You're not reporting that next
What-
week, I can say.
I can tell you with all sincerity, that's not reporting.
Okay.
But we're not losing control of it. So, we've got people who want to see it, but we're not losing control. So,
And then I do think it's important that we realize that because of the petition that was filed, in my view, this is the minimum tweak
right,
to what EPA is going to want us to do. And so it's substantially changes the landscape in my view too for farmers. But I think if we didn't do it this way, it would have a tendency, or at least the possibility of running afoul of
This-
federal rules.
this is why it was important for me. We had said on day one that we were gonna come in here and we were gonna do what's best for farmers. It's a very highly political bill. Very highly political of what it's doing. There's a lot of people in there that wanna have their say in this. There's a lot of people that don't want it the way it is, want it better, want it worse, whatever they wanna do. Us as a committee did what we promised each other that we'd do. We took something, we took politics out of it, we put our best bill forward, and where it goes after that is where it goes. And that's just the way that I feel it's gonna be. There's gonna be people that want a lot more fight in the game of what this done. And we did with what was best for A&R agriculture as what the EPA said that they needed to do. That's what we've done.
Can
Yeah.
Russell, to your point, though, Senator Collmore, is that's today's EPA. That may be different in a month, a year,
Point taken.
you know,
Mhm.
and, almost if we wouldn't have to do this bill, you know,
Right.
but what it is,
It is what it is.
and almost literally, the way things are going, by the time you report this,
It could
Could be different.
It could be very different.
The good news is there's no tariffs in.
What we did with, yeah,
Well-
there's time. But we did as a committee what we set out to do. And I think we did a really nice job with it. And look at how far we came on this. We said on Monday, and I made the comments about it's clear as mud. I think that we have a very good understanding of what we just passed out of here. And Godspeed. So,
Thank you for your time, Mike.
yes, thank you, Michael. Thank you for everything. Thanks, thank everyone. Anything else that anybody wants to discuss in front of the committee on this Friday?
Thanks so much.
Everybody have a great Friday. Thank you for your hard work. Appreciate it very much. I think we had a great week and, we'll see where next week goes. Linda showed me the schedule. We don't have a whole bunch on there. Remember, if you want to get people in, if people need to be heard, if they have some things, let's fill it up. And, we're probably gonna have a pretty easy week next week before things start to flow from the house. We do have, I think we did
have a
get
new
one
bill.
bill, didn't we?
We have a new bill, it's S-118.
Okay, so we can, maybe Lynn, if you want to put that on the agenda for,
You
well,
want to have
no, we'll wait till, don't put it on for Tuesday, but we'll take a peek at it and go from there.
Do we still wanna take a trip down to the lab at some
Yeah,
point?
do you want to plan, should I see if you can go in next week?
If you guys are good with that?
Well, no, you're on the floor at 11. It will be-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll leave that.
That's fine.
So I'm not going to-
It will fill in,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the other thing, Mr. Chair, I have been contacted by Dan Smith, the virtual fence. Remember that where you can move it? John O'Brien, who's a member of the counterpart group in the House, the three of us want to get together. What happened last year was it's not in the budget anywhere. But somehow, I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did a lot of stuff, but Bobby Stark found some money for Dan to keep that thing going with the collars on the cattle, and he's asking for maybe some additional funding, and I said, I have no idea how to do that, but I can't imagine that appropriations got, a few million just putting aside, oh, did you need anything? Sure. So, anyway, just to put that on the table,
And we
maybe
have-
we'll have Dan come back.
We got kind of I don't even know how the request came. I saw it in an email, but we have the grain farmers. And did somebody say there's a bill coming over as well?
There is also for Vermont Food Bank,
Right.
there's an additional $2 million ask for the food bank to purchase from only local farms. And one of the people that have asked me was a local farmer who wants, obviously, to sell more product.
Sure.
Well, there's the grain farmers that have asked for like $2 million. I haven't seen it. It was only in an email. I haven't got a
And so,
request. You haven't seen it delivered? Sure.
so
We'll have plenty to do. It's
Yeah,
just-
I'd still like to also find, a drone spray company to come in.
Yeah,
And you said, Law would be a good one to.
yeah, laws,
Laws.
laws agriculture, or at least a good one. Let me reach out to them and find out who's spraying by drones.
I'd really like to see us, when people come in, say, hey, we've already seen this,
Yeah.
a little something.
I actually saw it in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We went to a drone factory over there and, it's really fun. So the same pictures that we saw and somewhere on what we've seen, it was what I saw over there. It's kind of cool.
and they're like as big as this table.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really, really are. They are. Yeah. Anything else?